G. It's short for Grenville, but everybody calls me G, and I actually am decidedly less academic. I'm a sales guy. I sell video platforms to various organizations. I've sold, from the New York Times and Viacom to actually Columbia Business School is one of our customers. They use our software on the back end to manage their content. We also do a lot of work with corporations like Bank of America, SAP. I did not want to talk necessarily about the sector of the industry that I'm from, the OVP, OTT disruption. I want to talk about the CDNs a little myself. So I thought that was an interesting topic because I think there's a lot of disruption happening there. And obviously the stats that we've been talking about all day are driving that. So yeah, just to talk about CDNs, again, I've been doing this for 20 years. The first company we started in Steve's office 18 years ago down on Park Avenue South.
It's not possibly 18.
And I actually work across the street from there now. Back even just a few years ago, there were really, 4 choices out there. I mean, it was Level 3, Limelight, and Edgecast, and Akamai was the 800-pound gorilla. And 99 out of 100 times, customers want to be on Akamai. But what I really think is interesting is really just how much Akamai has come under siege in the last 3 or 4 years. You've got pretty major players like Amazon Web Services, and I'm going to show some data that I didn't come up with. It's Dan Rayburn from Streaming Media, who I want to absolutely credit with because he's one of the best analysts in the business. But Edgecast was bought by Verizon, so they're being very competitive. And Microsoft Azure, although half of their traffic actually runs off of Akamai's network. But just to look at the space today, I mean, there are a lot of players, and I mean, this isn't even all of them. Interestingly, if you look, again, Dan Rayburn's, actually this is from his CDN pricing site, not Streaming Media East. It's a great report that he came out with this summer. But Akamai actually is no longer the dominant CDN player in the space. Amazon's got twice the revenue from CDN that Akamai does, which I thought was very surprising. And then there are all these new players coming up. I mean, Comcast, Dr. Mitra mentioned, they've been talking to us and our customers as well, are being very, very aggressive. Folks like Fastly, okay, they're only 18 million in revenue, but there are a bunch of ex-Akamai guys out there really, really, being aggressive, claiming to specialize in video. Really, just in the last few years, this field has gotten very, very, very crowded. And again, I'm going to use Dan's numbers, but he's showing that really the year-over-year growth has only been about 15%, which is a little bit surprising. But there's some reasons for that we'll get into in a second. Just going actually back to, and then the stat on the bottom, I just threw it up just because there was such a wide discrepancy between what Dan's saying is going to happen this year and what other industry analysts are saying will be in just 3 years. Will the market grow by that much in 3 years? I'm not sure. But obviously CDN is definitely very commoditized. There's a lot of price pressure. Dan's estimate was that it was down 34%. Average pricing is down 34%, and certainly we play that game with the CDNs ourselves. Our customers play that game with the CDNs. There has been a lot of downward pressure. But what you're starting to see is really the CDNs, going and really trying to integrate more value in the stack. So, there are all sorts of examples here, but Amazon acquiring Elemental for transcoding. Verizon, bought Uplink and Viacom. Uplink's a very interesting company. If you don't know, it's a server-side ad stitching, so it's dynamic ad insertion server-side, and they were one of the only games really out there, and in order to use that technology, you have to be on the Edgecast network. So, these guys are buying pieces of the value chain in order to bring more value. And interestingly, Akamai's position has always been kind of that of Switzerland. They've never really bought any of these notable pieces and tried to integrate them because they've bought some CDNs over the years, et cetera, but they've always wanted to be very agnostic to the different publishers and folks like us, online video providers or OTT providers. And yeah, I mean, you know, again, I just, in line with the theme of this talk, you know, it's very much a world moving, you know, from a hardware, software to a pure SaaS cloud. You know, IBM, another example of somebody who's bought a bunch of video assets, not known for video, but has recently bought Clearleap. They bought Aspera a few years ago. They've got the software that they're trying to, you know, videofy. So IBM is making a big push into it. So what are some of the trends, you know, driving the market today? I mean, one big one that we see a lot more with our big, you know, with the Viacoms of the world or the Disneys, is this notion of CDN switching, multi-CDN strategy. So rather than just having, you know, the one Akamai or the one level 3, they will, you know, have multiple CDNs in play. They'll use a decision engine. Convive is a really well-known one. There's another one called Deliver, and this is, you know, allowing them to, you know, pick the best CDN with the best quality of service for that various user at that moment. And this is increasingly with big media something we're seeing more and more. So OTT, so we and I'm being cognizant of time, but you know, everybody's talking about OTT, and you know, yes, it's certainly driving video usage in the market, but is it actually driving CDN consumption? Are the CDNs profiting from it? And you know, I really, this isn't, you know, my sole conclusion, but I definitely agree with Dan here that actually it's really not. I mean, if you look, the big guys, which are, you know, Netflix, they, as Dr. Mitra and others have mentioned, have built their own CDN now, so they're entirely on their own. Amazon is mostly on their own. And you know, for some of these other OTT services, CBS, Sling TV, they don't even have 1 million subs today. I mean, it's not even a big enough market for them to do it. Honestly, you know, I think that OTT is really in its infancy, and at this point, you know, we don't, in any of our OTT deployments, really see, you know, the CDN getting a big benefit from it. 4K, so another thing that's talked about a lot, you know, 4K, you know, bigger, fatter files, but 4K streaming as opposed to 4K, you know, broadcast or cable. I mean, I don't see it happening. I don't see it being a major component in 2017. I think Netflix and Amazon, I mean, both of their services aren't actually even true 4K, and you know, their premium. We see it in RFPs a lot. We get it asked about it from the Disneys of the world, et cetera, and then we never actually see anything published. You know, there's just not a lot of 4K content for streaming today. So yeah, just you know, one other just point out here. I mean, when you look at the fact that the top 10 ISPs say that, you know, Netflix is at 3 point, somebody else had this in their slides before, but 3.4, 3.5 megabits per second. 4K is 15. I mean, that's a huge divergence. And the gentleman from 21st Century Fox mentioned, you're not going to have people watching a major sporting event on 4K streaming. It's just, it's not going to happen. So I think that this is one of those misnomers as well. I don't think 4K will have a big effect on the market for anytime soon. And then lastly, and again, this has been talked about and by others, but is the do-it-yourself. So more and more folks are doing, you know, the big guys are doing it yourself. So you look at, you know, somebody like Apple, who now is delivering 75% of their traffic, you know, themselves. And Akamai, just a few years ago, was delivering all of that for them. You know, Netflix, another one, Pandora, have taken you know, their traffic off of the major CDNs and put it on their own. But I also don't believe that, and this is where I would disagree with Dr. Mitra a tiny bit, I don't think that it's that easy for you to roll your own CDN at scale. I don't think you'll see even the big content providers going that way. I don't imagine a Disney or even an MLBAM, which is now going to be owned by Disney, or an NFL doing something like that. So I think the content providers will continue to use CDNs. So yeah, I mean, just in sum real quickly, and hopefully I'm hitting the mark right here. You know, there's a proliferation of delivery options, and some are backed by very major players. They're also, you know, vertically integrating other technologies to improve and, you know, to increase usage of their offering. One that I wasn't on the list because it hasn't really rolled out, but I saw at IBC this year, Ericsson has a pretty cool new offering where they're taking different service providers around the world and they're linking them together into something called Ericsson UDN, and they actually want to get the content guys to, you know, pre-positioning cache content on the network, etc. It's really not out in the market yet, but it, you know, these are big guys trying to get into that market. You know, OTT adoption, I believe, is too slow to kind of make up the difference. And you know, 4K is a ways off, yeah, DIY I think will happen for the biggest, but after that, I think that will hurt, you know, the CDN guys in the short term. So hopefully I did it on time, maybe 30 seconds too long. All right, thank you.